would like to say thank you once again to James Munder and Jennifer Hammonds as a result of their having the courage to stand up and speak for the sailors of the McCain and the Fitzgerald. We have seen a huge uptick and increase in traffic, mostly due to that, but we've also decided to go ahead and enter the Facebook arena. I hadn't done that up until this point. I'm not an expert at social media. The only platform up until this point I had used was YouTube. These people have absolutely done a fantastic job. James Munder with his research revolution. Jennifer Hammonds actually having been stationed aboard the USS Hopper, USS O'Kane, DDGs, understanding what day-to-day operations are like aboard, has done a couple of different interviews regarding this and has been able to illustrate clearly how absolutely absurd the story from the Navy is in their reports about what happened to the USS Fitzgerald. Now, in today's video, because of the huge uptick in traffic, we have a lot of new viewers. So for those of you who've been around for a while, I do apologize. We're going to go over some older information, but we're going to do it in a way with the new light, with the report. One of the things that we're going to start with is we had covered the bridge audio of the USS Porter. Now, I think with the new information, it's going to make this information even more relevant. Now, in case anyone doesn't know what we're talking about, back in 2012, a DDG, the USS Porter, was involved in a nighttime collision with a merchant vessel. The big difference here is the damage to the Porter was, I guess comparatively speaking, minimal. No one was seriously injured. No one for sure was killed. They were able to go into Jebel Ali and get the repairs effected, rejoin their strike group, and come in together into Virginia. Excuse me. Also, the crew that was on board at the time was not restricted whatsoever from speaking to news media, and there's videos out there of not only the command crew but also the enlisted crew openly speaking to reporters about what happened that night and their experiences on board. There was no hiding of the information or restricting the crew whatsoever. And more importantly, there was no damage below the waterline. In the history of ship accidents, last summer was the first time in the history of ever that bulbous bows, these bow-breaking devices on these cargo ships, had resulted in the death of anyone aboard another ship. Ever. And it happened twice, just ever so coincidentally, with U.S. Navy vessels in the 7th Fleet, DDGs, on anti-ballistic missile missions, while North Korea was launching missile after missile after missile. So, but that's all supposedly just a strange coincidence, and you're not supposed to pay attention to that. Now, we had made this issue about how the story about what happened post-collision was just beyond belief. This is the audio file of the bridge conversation. And I have this pushed up to 258. They have a 4-minute section here. But I want to show you in this section just how quickly they call general quarters and how quickly the collision alarm sounds. Here we go. There's the collision.
You all right? You all right? Come to this. All right? All right? You what? Stop! Come and stop! Come and stop! What's up? We've been hit. Support side. General quarters. General quarters. Support side.
Okay, so there we see. The collision happens at 3:12. Within 10 seconds, the collision alarm has gone off, and by 3:52, the general quarters has been sounded. So grand total 40 seconds. 40 seconds from the time of the collision, the recovery, the collision alarm, and the collision alarm continues to rail in the background. And we have to believe that that's absolutely what would happen. Because that's just common sense, and we've talked to people who've been stationed aboard these vessels who have said this would be the case. Also, I wanted to show you, sorry about the distraction there for one moment. This is the MV Ottawa Zone. This is the ship that hit the USS Porter. This ship makes the ACX Crystal look like a dang rowboat. This thing is 3 times as long, and when it's empty, it's 5 times the mass of the ACX Crystal is loaded. And this ship was loaded 300,000 tons, 159,000 tons empty, 300,000 tons full, and moving at 14 knots when it hit the Porter. Yet we see damage above the waterline. You know, the ship listed to 27 degrees, and you can find that these articles here. This is a Virginian Pilot, and it talks about, you know, the details here. Pilotonline.com, News Military, just about. There's a lot of places that you can go find information about the Porter, and this one details it. You know, about the speed of the vessel at the time when it happened, and all of the different details regarding the collision with the Porter. So this story about the Fitzgerald having this giant offset in damage, where the damage below the waterline is almost all the way around underneath the ship on the hull, and the damage above the waterline isn't directly above it. It's way, way off to the left. It is just absolutely insane. Because we also saw, you can look at pictures of the McCain. When the McCain was hit, you can see the dent, you can see the stem, and it all lines up perfectly, just like it would. But not in this case, for some strange reason. And for some strange reason, in this particular case, we have a 13-minute lag in the time of the collision and the time someone was able to decide to call general quarters. You see, it strikes me that more than likely there would have been bridge audio available. If what they're saying is true, the U.S. Navy would have had access to the bridge audio immediately. And what I've brought up here is this is the supplemental. This is www.secnav.navy.mil, FOIA reading room, Fitzgerald supplemental. I'll go ahead and see if I can put that up there for you. Let me pause the video. Anyway, that's what that is. It's not too hard to find. Fitzgerald preliminary report. Google will get you to the PDF. But the most important thing here, 0143. All power forward is lost. General quarters is set. Okay? So, at 0143, that's when this happened. And down here, a lot of people have made the issue that, you know, that maybe the communications was down. 1MC ceased to work after that. They had communications during this time. And I'll find it here. Give me 1 second. I do apologize. I thought I had this up and I didn't. But it's well after the point when it was called. And that's the point. That's what we need to illustrate here, is the story put out by the Navy in their reports that we waited patiently for is completely unbelievable and argues directly with logic. So if the Navy is putting out stuff in reports that doesn't even agree with logic, that we can prove is completely false and unbelievable, and we've also now shown in previous videos that the other crew, the crew of the ACX Crystal, is lying, acting suspiciously, messing with their transponders, then we have an entirely different event here. And what makes it so terrible is for the desire of wanting to lambaste or club the last administration, the people quintessentially who've been responsible for being suspicious of the government and calling the government out when they're lying have completely ignored this. They were so willing, even former Navy sailors, it was so hard to see. Just so ever so willing to throw their Navy brothers under the bus and allow their names and their reputations to be slimed in public. And on top of that now, as if that wasn't bad enough, now they're going to try to take 6 sailors, 5 officers, and 1 enlisted aboard the McCain and Fitzgerald and put them on trial for felony negligent homicide. This can't stand, folks. This absolutely can't stand. If you were suspicious of the government before the last year, you need to continue to be. You absolutely need to continue to be. Because it's not appropriate. It's not, it argues with intelligence. It argues with basic common sense. The idea that they would make all of these sailors sign non-disclosure agreements, slap operational security all over everything. They called the Japanese Maritime Self-Defense Forces themselves. The Navy did that. They called the Japanese Coast Guard themselves. The Navy did that. And now they're saying that neither one of those 2 entities have any right to investigate this whatsoever. They've issued them summaries of statements from the sailors and given them 0 access to the vessel. And now the vessel's back here in Pascagoula. And it was a Philippine ship that hit them. The Filipinos weren't allowed to do any investigation whatsoever. You know, and I have information I haven't put out yet that I'm debating putting out because it could set off a wildfire of conspiracy theories. Since we have 2 vessels, both with the name Crystal, both involved in accidents, loss of life, the most recent one setting off a giant fire the size of the state of Rhode Island off the coast of China. I'll give you a hint on that. Crystal translates to the word water jade in English. And the helm is a control of a ship. Water, crystal, ship control. Jade helm. So, just saying, that should set everybody right down the road. But like, share, subscribe. Once again, James Munder, Jennifer Hammonds, thank you very, very much. I appreciate getting the word out for the sailors. Like, share, subscribe, and we will see you next time. Thank you.